Hello, this is Tanmay, and in this video, we will be discussing about what data is needed for us to implement the technique of attribution. So, in our previous videos, we covered that what attribution is actually and how it can be managed. Now, today we will be talking about what data is needed for the same. So, starting with this note. First, the thing that we need is the web analytics data. Now, this can be any platform that you're using for the purpose of analytics. It can be Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, or any other platforms like these. So, if I talk about Google Analytics, it has its own attribution section as it has a lot of analytics data. You can simply integrate Google Analytics to your website and get hold of the analytics data. And we can utilize this data in different ways. That means we can get to know about a lot of things that are happening on our website. We can implement attribution on this data because we can get hold of the context that the data was collected. Like if a user clicks on certain element, then we can get hold of the name of the element as well as the duration and the interaction that a user performed on that particular element of our website. So we can utilize that data in a lot of ways. So talking about the utilization, there is a very important concept in data that we call as data granularity. So it's nothing but the measure of how detailed the data is. Now it simply means that you can store the address in a single field, and that is not something that you need a lot of fields. But if you make it more granular, you can just simply store it in multiple fields, and that data will get more detailed for the same values. So granularity of the data is very important, and we need to understand exactly what data granularity we need for implementing attribution. So are we able to receive the data that we need is also a very important concept that we need to think thoroughly. That it can be event level data, or it can be simply session data that we are collecting of the user, and we need to understand that all this data needs to be collected with a proper context. And so not just a visit, we are able to also track uh, the activities, the interactions that are happening inside the visit. It cannot be the case that you only record the number of visits that a particular website or a particular page is having per day. It has no meaning. You'll also have to record certain other things, like what actually is happening in that particular visit to your website, what interactions are being made, what changes in the DOM are being made. So any of the changes in the Ajax or in the JavaScript DOM, they can be tracked, and the user can also be tracked using those interactions, and it can tell a great story to us regarding how the decision change of the user is happening, how there is a change in mind of the user while he or she is interacting with our website. So it is very important to know that are we able to analyze all interactions that is going on in our website? Are we able to capture every bit of interaction that is needed to make strategic decisions? So this thing we'll have to keep in mind. So coming up is first of all, another important thing is that understanding data segmentation and grouping is also very essential when it comes to making decisions for the business. So you'll have to properly segment the data and divide it into various groups so that it's easier to visualize the same data. So another important concept is the types of conversions that we are talking about. So definitely we will be collecting data on the basis of these conversions. Now there are two types of conversions. One is micro and the other one is macro. Micro conversion is something like a product of a specific category is being viewed, or the product is added to the basket, or if we talk about some service business, then a blog post is viewed, a particular channel is subscribed by the user. So all these are micro conversions. These generally do not have any monetary purpose to the business, but these are very essential and contribute to a macro conversion somewhere or the other. So macro conversion is nothing but example, an e-commerce purchase that a user make. That means as a business we are making a sale, or a lead that gets generated if we are having a service business. So all these things contribute to macro conversions, like submitting a particular form that has some monetary value. So macro conversions are majorly related to monetary benefits, and that's the main difference between micro and macro. So getting hold of the product that we are stored in our cart, that means a user adds a certain product to the cart, so that is a micro conversion. And after making up the mind of the user, he or she will try to buy that product. He or she will try to check out with the cart. So each interaction needs to have particular categorization that the user is doing there, and this provides context of the data as well. So basically we try to trigger a lot of micro conversions at each and every stage of purchase. That means there can be multiple stages between the user actually getting to know about the product and the user buying the product. So all the stages that are there in between, we can fire certain triggers at every stage, and that will be the micro conversion. And finally when the sale or the conversion happens in the last stage, that will be our macro conversion, that will have some monetary benefits to our business. So it's not always the same. Sometimes the macro conversions can take up to several visits. It cannot be the case that user added a certain product to your cart and checks out within some minutes. It can be after several days, the user returns to the cart and finally checks out the product and finally decides to buy it. So it's not always necessary that macro conversion happens in the same visit. First, we'll have to contribute using the micro conversions that the user has making. So we need the model to understand the value of impressions that an individual is making on our website. We need to take care of the impressions that we are getting hold of using the analytics software, the data that we are getting. So using the data that we get through attribution, we can understand the return of investment that we are getting on ads. And it's basically quite simple. Like we can get marketing cost data using APIs like Google Ad API, DoubleClick API to align costs to interactions. We can just link the number of interactions or the interactions simply that the user is making on our website. We can connect them to the cost that our business is being invested with. So talking about that cost, if I give you an example, that supposingly if we have $1,000 and we have invested them in the SEO of our business, of your website, you have freelanced a small agency where the SEO is being conducted on your website, and due to that SEO you fetch nearly 1,000 interactions. So there is no specific method that you can track the data, that track any kind of reports that your SEO is making. So basically you'll have to do some math here. So since you invested $1,000 in your SEO, and that fetched nearly 1,000 interactions on your website, so that's like we can come to know the cost. Else there is no other way. Like we can just simply divide the cost divided by the interactions that are there, or vice versa. So that will give us the cost per interaction by that SEO channel, and that will be the data that we have collected from there. So talking about other places from where we can get data is the affiliate networks. When a conversion happens, supposedly we have implemented a proper affiliate network and a conversion happens, then there is a small commission that is calculated and credited to the affiliate network. So If we talk about the last visit or the final visit of the user where actually the conversion happens, that is the place where we need to actually collect data for, and also at that time the commission will also be credited to the affiliate network account. So if we talk about the journey of the user when the user comes from an affiliate links, we can track easily about the referral links that the user is coming through, and calculating data within its context is very important when we talk about the when we talk about today's attribution techniques. So it cannot be always the case that you provide same value or same importance to each and every impressions that is happening on your website. It should be definitely dynamic and should be updated frequently. And always remember that there can be a lot of impressions or micro conversions that are happening onto your website before actually a macro conversion happens. So that's all for the the data that we need for implementing attribution. And thanks for watching.